Hello and welcome to a live Deprogrammed with Keri Smith. I'm your host, Keri, and it's good to be back. It's good to see you guys. Happy Friday. I've got the little monster tiger here with me because he's decided right before we started to make a big racket and bark at the Ethernet guys. There's all kinds of, they're putting Ethernet in and I don't know, some new kind of Ethernet. I don't think it's the Elon Musk Starlink. I think it's something else. Anyway, I've got him right here with me, so hopefully I can keep a handle on him. So apologies for being late. It's good to see you guys. And yeah, we didn't do a Christian panel on Wednesday, and I apologize that I didn't give you a heads up about that. I know it's been a while since we've done one, but our schedules just haven't been working out. And I had a pitch meeting on Wednesday that actually went really great. I'm pretty excited about it. And, I regretted not being able to do that show, but we're going to be back in a couple weeks. So we'll see you guys then. Okay. Today, I don't know if you guys saw it, but somehow it showed up in my feed. The Democrats held a press conference about Trump's first 100 days in office. And I thought it might be fun to watch it together because it's the kind of thing that I don't think it's not that great to watch it alone because you're just sitting there like, why am I being gaslighted alone? Why am I sitting here yelling at the television alone? The other thing, it struck me as pretty depressing. Like, I don't know about you guys, but since this Trump's time in office, since he won this time around, I know they're probably making just as much racket as they made after the 2016 election win. I'm sure they are, but I don't hear about it as much. I think they've been seriously deflated, even when they're doing these big protests, like the May Day protest, or when they did the one last month that was I don't even remember what they called it. Remember the one that we covered on the show? See what I mean? It's not like it's making a big impression. I don't even remember the name of that one. Hands Off. It was called Hands Off. And nobody really cares. That's the impression I get. I don't know if my finger's on the pulse or not, but what I'm tracking is that they're just kind of sad lately, the Democrats. Trump won with a mandate. He won the electoral vote, the popular vote. He won all the swing states. The people want change. They want Trump. He won with a broad coalition of conservatives and classical liberals and libertarians and all kinds of people. And they're just sort of, I don't know. I think they're maybe depressed. So I thought it might be fun to watch. They're demoralized, says Alan Scott. Pirate Tomsky, it's because they've all been defunded. Yeah, possibly. USAID propped them up too much, says John. Well, hey guys. Okay, so maybe you haven't seen this video and you might want to watch it with me just so you can keep abreast. I do kind of like to keep abreast of what they're saying. And, I'm not as interested in politics as some people, but I do have an interest in it. It's just not very high up there. But I want to know. I want to know who they are. Who are the current faces? Some of the faces you'll recognize. They've been there forever. But here we go. Let's get this going. And we're just going to watch it and have fun together. Happy Friday. That's what we're doing. Okay. Here we go. First of all, the version that I originally saw of this, I think it was the Fox News version, had a much wider shot, and you could see that like nobody's there. And it's pretty much like there's no crowd, and they're on the steps here. And I think this part is not included in this version. So right before he started speaking, he was like, he said something about the crowd, like everybody's here, let's get started. Who's here? It's just you guys. It's really just you guys in the press. The people didn't come out. The people weren't like, yay, let me come see what you guys have to say. Nobody cares. That itself is kind of sad. Okay, let's go.
Talk about Trump's first 100 days. Donald Trump's first 100 days can be defined by one big F word. Failure.
Look at his face. Look at his face smirking over his glasses. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Failure. It's just so silly. It can be described with one big F word. Why even go there? Why even go there? Keep it classy, but he goes there. Okay. One big F word, failure. And then he looks around to see if anybody's laughing. It's a good one.
Failure on the economy. Failure on lowering costs. Failure on tariffs. Failure on foreign policy. Failure on preserving democracy. Failure on helping middle-class families. Today's new economic news showed that Donald Trump.
Let me highlight something real, just very quickly. I think this is actually important. Let me take this down. I don't know if you've noticed, but the Democrats are pivoting away from woke, like identity Marxism. They're not abandoning it entirely. No. But they're pivoting away from it, of talking about it, of making it the centerpiece. And they are trying to go back to just their classic Marxism, not the identity Marxism, but the classic Marxism. They're going right back to class. They're trying to appeal to the working man, the working voter. They realize they have a problem. They realize that woke lost them the election. And so you're going to be hearing this a lot more, where they're talking about all of a sudden they care about the economy. All of a sudden they care about the little man. This is just keep that in mind, because I've noticed this, and I've seen others who are pointing this out as well. They're going back to just, the classic Marxism for a little while. So front and center, the economy.
Is running the American economy the way he ran his family business, into the ground. Into the ground. On tariffs, what a failure. It's a policy that's in total chaos. One day says one thing, one day says another thing. Maybe this country has tariffs, maybe this country won't. Even his policy advisors are at a loss to explain what he's doing. And as a result, instead of all of us in the world going after China, China now has allies all over the world going after us. Tariffs, a failure. On costs, Donald Trump said on day one he'd lower costs of American families. They are up and up and up. And the tariffs are making it worse. Costs will go up for about $4,000 for the average American family. People who have IRAs have lost close to $100,000. Small businesses, medium-sized businesses, large businesses are frozen because they don't know what Trump's going to do. And that can.
How dare you? How dare you guys talk about small businesses like you give a damn, when we just lived through the COVID years, when you guys shut down small businesses, but you left big box chain stores open, when you arrested grandmothers, there was a grandmother I interviewed, you arrested for operating her coffee shop during COVID. And she chose to operate it because otherwise she was going to go out of business. How dare you stand there and pretend like you care about how small mom and pop businesses are doing, when we saw the greatest transfer of wealth from the working class and from small businesses to corporations that we've ever seen in this country under Democratic control. How dare you? Trump did. I disagreed with. He did impose. I can't remember if he imposed the lockdowns or not. I think he did. I think you're right, but I disagreed with a lot of Trump's COVID policy. If you guys will remember, and it's so funny because as soon as he was out of office, the Democrats adopted all of those same things that they had been criticizing him for, and they just went full hog with it. Yes, they just went full hog with it. They were like forcing the vax on, healthcare workers. They were forcing it on the troops.
constrains supplies, and raises costs. Failure on foreign policy. Instead of standing up to bullies, Trump is succumbing to bullies. He's being bullied.
How do you figure that? We finally have a strong, whether you like him or hate him, we finally have a strong leader. We finally have someone who bullies, whether they like him or not, respect in terms of his strength, meaning there's a bit of fear that comes with respect in the way that I'm using it there. We finally have someone who, I mean, these are the guys who told us for 4 years that Biden was fine. Even though we could see his cognitive decline, he was fine. This part just, it doesn't make any sense. It's just absolute upside down.
By the dictators of the world. And again, he's broken our alliances in Europe. And so all the world now looks askance at America. Failure on Doge. Doge was supposed to bring efficiency. What instead is it doing? Cutting Social Security, cutting medical research, cutting costs. Failure.
What? Cutting Social Security? Are you just going to stand there and outright lie to people and scare them? Liar? It's not cutting Social Security.
On helping American families. Cutting taxes on the rich and paying for it by slashing Medicaid, strangling Social Security.
I just want to read this. We have a correction in the chat. One of the mods says, Therese says, Trump imposed the travel restrictions. The states did the lockdowns. That's why Florida and Texas were free and Michigan and California were not. I needed a fact check on that because I couldn't exactly remember what he had to do, if anything, with lockdowns, but I know he didn't run full hog with it like they did.
Hurting our veterans. Total failure on helping American families. And who is complicit in all of this? Who the Republicans in the House and Senate are co-conspirators. They are complicit. They are aiding and abetting all of Donald Trump's failures. They're not standing up to him once. They're involved and they will shoulder the blame. Finally, on democracy. Donald Trump is trying to ruin our democracy. He has changed the Justice Department into an attack dog for his political enemies, the hallowed, fair Justice Department. He's washing it away. He is a would-be dictator. He wants to be a king.
Once again, this is Darvo. This is deny and reverse victim offender. This is what narcissists and sociopaths do. You want to talk about a dictator? Let's talk about what you guys did in your 4 years under Biden, which is to dictate what medical intervention people had to get. You tried to dictate that. You tried to mandate it. You mandated it in the federal government. You mandated it with soldiers. You mandated it with some hospital workers. You shut down public schools. You wouldn't let kids go to school. You did forced masking. You shut down small businesses. You want to talk about dictators? It's as if you think we've forgotten what you did to us. President Joe Biden stood up there and threatened us with a winter of severe illness and death if we didn't get this new experimental jab. And yes, by definition, it was experimental because it had not been around long enough for longitudinal studies. It still hasn't. You want to pretend like none of this happened. You guys are not actually pro-choice. You're just pro-abortion, because if you're pro-choice, you wouldn't have been forcing masking. You wouldn't have been mandating masking. You wouldn't have been mandating the vax. Yeah, never forget, says Dan. I just want to thank a couple people. Randy Wallen for $20 says, just because, remember to support our Happy Warrior Keri, like, comment, subscribe. You're so nice. You're so kind. That's a better word. Thank you, Randy. Thank you very much for supporting. Your Average Patriot Nerd for 5 memberships. If you got one of those, you can thank Yappin'. I'm going to start calling you Yappin', your average patriot nerd. And then KB, who's been a member for 16 months, says it seems that they only focus on hyperbole and lies. Oh, yes. Oh, KB, it's going to get better. This is why I like to watch these with people because I'm just sort of, otherwise, it's just me driving, listening to it, yelling at the video by myself.
And again, our Republican colleagues in the House and Senate are complicit. So, Donald Trump's first 100 days are an abject failure. And we Democrats here and around the country will fight him at every turn. The great Hakeem Jeffries.
Even they're clapping.
Thank you so much. An honor and a privilege to stand here with you, Leader Schumer. Thank you for your leadership, and an honor and a privilege to stand here with House Democrats and Senate Democrats shoulder to shoulder in defense of the American people. Donald Trump's first 100 days in office have been a disaster. Donald Trump and congressional Republicans.
He didn't get the memo. It's failure. It's the F word. Chuck Schumer said, not disaster, F word.
Are crashing the economy in real time, raising costs on hard-working American taxpayers and driving us toward a painful recession. This is not Joe Biden's economy, Donald. It is your economy. It is the Trump economy. It is a failed economy.
What? What? Again, you want to pretend like we don't know? We voted for him to turn things around. It's been 100 days. I'm pretty happy with what I've seen so far. This is Joe Biden's economy. What are you talking about? This is where he got us. This is why you guys lost.
And the American people know it. House Democrats and Senate Democrats, standing shoulder to shoulder, are committed to building an economy that actually is affordable and makes life better for everyday Americans. We want to build an economy that lowers housing costs, lowers childcare costs, lowers healthcare costs, lowers grocery costs, and lowers utility costs. We recognize that far too many people in this country are struggling to live paycheck to paycheck. That should not be the case in the wealthiest country in the history of the world.
You recognize that now? You recognize it now? What about the past 4 years? Suddenly you recognize it? People are struggling. Now it matters.
It's time to build an affordable economy, and it's time to build it now. Donald Trump and congressional Republicans have failed in this task, and they're not equipped to do it because they're focused on enacting massive tax cuts for their billionaire donors like Elon Musk, and they want everyday Americans to pay for it.
What is that about? Where does this lie just come from? It's like they have these certain figures that they've successfully focused all of the hatred and the ire from their tribe, from their cult onto, and one of those is now Elon Musk, and so they just dangle his name. They just dangle it like red meat for the dogs, right? They're just like, and Elon Musk is you're gonna pay for Elon Musk's tax cuts. Therese, great point. So, hey, why don't you guys stop blocking bills that cut spending and tax cuts? Thanks. Also, this is just man, Lindsay, the cynical geek says, hey, I lost my job. I almost lost my job thanks to Biden's jab mandate. Thank God my employer has since walked back the mandate. I will never forget the act of absolute evil the Democrats have pushed on us. No, and they want us to forget. They think we will forget. They turned a lot of people. They lost there were a bunch of walkaways that happened during the COVID years where people were waking up and realizing these guys are not what they say they are. These guys are not freedom of choice, bodily autonomy. These guys are not liberals, you know. I'm never forgetting what they did. And the fact that they don't acknowledge it and just pretend like it didn't happen makes me more disgusted. DL, thanks for the super chat. DL says, let's don't forget, Build Back Better. Build Back Better. How'd that go? How did that work?
We are going to continue to stand up to protect Social Security and Medicare. These aren't entitlement programs. They are earned benefits. The American people have paid into those benefits. Work hard for those benefits. Earn those benefits. They are earned benefits. And let me be clear with our Republican colleagues and Donald Trump, Social Security is not a Ponzi scheme. Project 2025 is a Ponzi scheme.
Look at them all clap. If their cult is, the cult is so brainwashed that this, like, some people who are outside of it were like, how would this play well? It plays so well with them because they actually believed, these guys went hard with the Project 2025 psyop. Listen, if there's any leftists watching, Project 2025, like, they wound you guys up over nothing. It was a policy agenda that was put together by a conservative think tank. So what? There are leftist think tanks and conservative think tanks that put together policy agendas and recommendations on who to hire and on policies for every presidency. It wasn't Trump's agenda. He had his own agenda. And you guys just let them wind you up over this thing that wasn't even his, which honestly, then when I read it, even if it had been his, I didn't find very much alarming in there. I can't really think of, nothing alarming. There were a couple things I disagreed with where I felt like they didn't go far enough, honestly. But this whole thing where, again, it's like Elon Musk, they can just drop certain things and they've already done the work, the psyop work, the brainwashing work. So they know it's just like dropping red meat. They're like, Elon Musk, Project 2025. And then again, they're selling this lie that somehow Social Security is under attack. It's not. They try to whip their base up into believing these absolute lies. We are definitely in a post-truth world. Hey, what's up, Brahma Bull? He says Project 2025 was mostly fine by me. Yeah, me too. There were a couple things in there. What I recall disagreeing with was some of the stuff about divorce law. That again, I felt was tilted possibly. Like they had something in there about emotional abuse being a factor. And, there are a lot of women who claim emotional abuse falsely, and I just was wondering what's the standard of evidence for that. And I'm not saying it doesn't happen. Trust me, I know it happens. It's just that there's also people who misuse it. And so there were like little questions like that. And the people who are all wound up about Project 2025, if you try to talk to them about those little things that you might disagree with, they don't even know what you're talking about because they've never read Project 2025. This is what I found. So they can't even talk. They're like, talk a big game at first. They bark a big bark like, oh, I hate Project 2025. And I'm like, oh, well, what did you think about this part? Because I actually did disagree with this part. And they're like, I don't know what part you're talking about. They don't know. They haven't ever read it. They just have opinions about something they haven't read.
We're going to stand up in defense of the health care of the American people. It is outrageous that Donald Trump and congressional Republicans are trying to enact the largest cut to Medicaid in American history. They will hurt families, hurt children, hurt seniors, hurt women, hurt veterans, and hurt disabled Americans. Hospitals will close, nursing homes will shut down, and people will die. This budget that Republicans are trying to jam.
People will die. That's always like, I think it's just this bit of hyperbole that they do when they want to sell you a lie. And they did the meme. He outright did the Remy meme. Now, do you guys know what I'm talking about when I say the Remy meme? Let me show you this. This is a parody video that was put out. It's really funny. It's a musical parody I don't know if I'll get in trouble for playing it, so I'm just going to play a little bit of it. But if you haven't seen it, this is what I mean by he did the Remy meme. Now this came out 7 years ago. Reason magazine put this out. Here we go.
These cuts are blood money. People will die. Let's be very clear. Senate Republicans are paying for tax cuts for the wealthy with American lives.
People need kidneys, it's sad but decreed, yet the senator's hoarding one more than she needs. I offer this bill and I hope you'll vote aye, unless of course you just want people to die. Traffic deaths have many crying with fear. Over 30,000 people are dying each year. This modest change I propose must be applied, unless of course you just want people to die. Alcohol deaths are exceeding comparisons. Black people, white people, Native Americans. We need to ban alcohol. It can't be denied, unless of course you just want people to die.
It just gets better. Anyway, you got to go watch the whole thing if you haven't seen it. It's so funny. But he did it. He did the meme. He did the you just want people to die. I'm going to pull up an article about the Medicaid thing and show you where he's lying to you. But let's continue with what he's saying first.
Down the throat to the American people at the direction of Donald Trump is unconscionable, unacceptable, and un-American. And Senate Democrats and House Democrats are going to do everything possible to stop this reckless budget in its tracks and bury it in the ground, never to rise again. Yes. Lastly, we have a message for our Republican colleagues. The House and the Senate are separate and co-equal branches of government. We don't work for Donald Trump. We don't work for Elon Musk. We don't work for far-right extremists. We work for the American people. And it's time for you to start acting like it or step out of the way so we can build the type of America that allows every single person in this great country to thrive.
Hold on a second. What is the government's job in making sure and ensuring that people thrive? Because he says that allows everyone to thrive. So you would presume, oh, well, he must be talking about some laws or something that prevent people from thriving. You know, that the Trump is enacting there must be something the evil Republicans are doing that's like preventing people from thriving, that's discriminating or preventing people from thriving. What are those laws that are preventing people from thriving? What are those laws? Do you know what this is? This is a straight up play to resentment. This is a straight up play to, hey, audience, do you feel resentful? You don't have enough? You're not thriving yet? You're not where you want to be yet? Vote for us. Vote for us. We're going to ensure that you thrive. I hate when people do this. I don't care if they're Democrats or Republicans, where it's like a resentment play and they're trying to stir up resentment and use it for political votes, like for advantage, somehow the evil Republicans are holding you back. And they're making it so that you can't get that hot tub that you want for the backyard. It's their fault that you can't buy a Starbucks latte every day. You can't thrive the way you want. But if you vote for us, it's that evil Elon Musk is getting all of your Starbucks. It's that kind of resentment growing, I guess you would call it. I just can't stand that. That allows every single person in this great country to thrive, he says.
It's now my great honor to yield to the great Reverend Dr. Senator Raphael Warnock from the great state of Georgia. Good job. Good job.
It didn't take us long to see what this Trump administration is all about. This is the worst first 100 days that this country has seen in a very, very long time.
What's funny, how Trump always, they make fun of him, and I make fun of him too, when he says stuff like, the best, what did he say after the first 2 weeks? Like the best that we've accomplished, what did he say? The most successful 2 weeks since George Washington. Which is just funny to say something. He's like, some people are saying it since maybe George Washington. I don't know. Some people are saying it, but they do the same thing all the time. Look at this guy. He's like, the worst 100 days we've ever seen. I mean, it's basically the same. People are saying it's the worst 100 days.
We are witnessing an all-out assault on our Constitution, an all-out assault on our norms and our values, an assault on the pocketbooks of ordinary people.
Well, again, I just have to pause it here. This guy has more inaccuracies than any of the others. Okay, so first of all, all-out assault on the Constitution. You guys don't give a crap about the Constitution, so don't even lie. We know this. We know this, one, because of COVID. We know this because you unconstitutionally shut down churches and small businesses and told people they could not make the choice for themselves to operate their business while you left big box stores and corporations open. You did this. You unconstitutionally what is it when you apply the law differently to different people? That's what you guys did. You applied it one way to certain types of stores. You left the liquor stores open. You shut down the gyms. You shut down the churches. You guys don't give a crap about the Constitution. All of that was unconstitutional. I mean, frankly, many of you should be behind bars. The governors who pushed that, that's my opinion. So don't tell me about the Constitution. You also routinely attack the Second Amendment. You routinely attack the First Amendment. Under the Biden's years, we saw through congressional testimony by Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook. We saw through his testimony. We saw through the reporting that was done by journalists like Michael Schellenberger. We saw through the Twitter files, the Facebook files, that the Biden administration, the government, you guys, you Democrats, were behind the scenes having the three-letter agencies do meeting after meeting after meeting with these big social companies like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and you were censoring. You were trying to skirt the First Amendment, which prevents the government from restricting free speech. You were trying, these three-letter government agencies were using corporations to do it for you, which, by the way, that's fascism. You're working together, the corporations, the government, to restrict the freedoms of people. So don't even talk to me. Don't even talk to us about the Constitution. You guys have said multiple times that you would rip it up, that it's got flaws, that you would redo it. Like, don't even pretend. This, again, suddenly, after suffering this huge loss, suddenly Democrats care about the economy, we're supposed to believe. Suddenly they care about the Constitution. What? And then he wants to talk about attacks on the Constitution, not just attacks on the Constitution. He says attacks on our values and norms. Yeah, let's talk about that for a second. Our values and norms. Which party of the two? I'm not saying the Republicans are perfect. Not at all. But of the two parties, which one has done more to destroy our norms and traditions and our values? What would you say? I mean, even the leftists who might be watching, what would you say? I mean, because you guys are loud and proud about destroying normativity, heteronormativity. Let's get rid of it. You guys are loud and proud. Organizations like BLM, you're loud and proud about destroying the nuclear family and your Marxist origins. You're loud and proud about getting rid of norms. You're loud and proud about pretending that quote unquote transgenderism is normal and pushing it on children. You're loud and proud about sterilizing and mutilating kids. About pretending, you guys are loud and proud about pretending that kids are able to consent to that when we all agree they can't consent to, well, I don't know if you guys still agree, but that they can't consent to sex. They can't consent to, we don't allow them to buy guns, to drive cars, to smoke cigarettes, to drink alcohol, have sex with adults. None of these things, even get a tattoo. We don't allow them to do that. But you guys have been loud and proud about destroying our norms and deciding, that kids can somehow consent to sterilizing themselves for life or getting their breast cut off. The absolute gall to pretend like you guys are not the face of destroying our norms and traditions and values. That's what that's what you are. That's what you are. And you scream loudly about it. Normalize this, normalize that. And it's always some kind of degeneracy that you're talking about when you say that. Get off of it.
But in a real sense, an assault on the spirit of the American people. They are trying to convince us that our neighbors are our enemies.
Once again, I got to pause it once again. What did you guys spend the 4 COVID years that Biden was in office doing? Trying to convince people that our neighbors are our enemies. You guys, the Democrats, I remember in the COVID years, you guys doing video after video, newscast after newscast with politicians and journalists, all these left-wing people talking about how the unvaccinated are to blame. They deserve ridicule and scorn and shame and mockery. You guys were saying, I remember, was it Jimmy Kimmel who said the unvaccinated shouldn't even be allowed to be treated at a hospital if they get sick, like they shouldn't be allowed. And it was with this deep kind of malice. You guys, you were turning neighbor on neighbor. You did this. You turned people into a bunch of Stasi reporting each other. I remember Los Angeles Mayor Garcetti going on a press conference and saying that the Los Angeles government, that they were going to start offering, basically, they were going to be offering money, payouts, if you reported on your neighbor for violating their COVID lockdowns and all their ridiculous requirements that they had in LA. He said in his press conference, you've heard that snitches get stitches. Well, I'm here to tell you that snitches get rewards. This is what you guys said. The Democrats said. They had neighbors turning on neighbors. My friend from LA came to live with us for a while because she couldn't work during the COVID years. And she's a personal trainer and a bodybuilder. She works out of a gym. She trains clients out of a gym. The gyms all shut down, so she couldn't work. They weren't allowed to train people. But the gym owner was still allowing the individual trainers who had worked there to come in and work out on their own privately, right? To use the gym by themselves, to use the showers, use the gym. And the neighbors of that gym would call and snitch on them every time they saw one of the trainers over there. Oh, it looks like they're operating the gym. Do I get my money? They were being harassed. The cops were showing up so many times. She was just like, I can't. Like, I'm just leaving. I'm going to Texas. It was a culture of neighbor against neighbor. So again, these guys are freaking liars. They're like sociopaths. They're like narcissists who do the Darvo thing, deny and reverse victim offender, where they're just telling you, they're telling on themselves. Every accusation they make is a confession to what they've done. So convince us that our neighbors are our enemies. That's what you do, sir. That's your job.
Know better than that by now, and we do. We went through a deadly pandemic in which if my neighbor was sick, while she was sick, I was potentially imperiled because it was an airborne disease. That didn't make my neighbor my enemy. That means I have an invested interest in my neighbor's health care, in my neighbor's ability to be covered. And so while there are politicians who want us to be wary of our neighbors, we ought to be wary of politicians who want us to be afraid of each other. They're trampling due process, striking fear in communities all across our country. They're firing the federal workers.
Once again, striking fear in our communities. That's you guys. You guys are the ones who whipped up this huge hysterical fear campaign about Project 2025. And you did it on purpose for votes. You're so disgusting. And you're doing it now with these lies about how Trump is cutting Social Security and Medicaid. You're trying to scare old people. You're terrible. You're terrible people.
Who serve our veterans. Many of them are veterans themselves. They have had the honor necessary to fight for us, and then they come back and they've got to fight with us to get ordinary respect for the work that they've already done and the work that they're trying to do. They're trying to shut down Social Security offices in Georgia and all across the country, drinking water safety offices. And why are they doing all of this? They're doing all of this in order to pay for a tax cut for billionaires, all the while adding billions of dollars, trillions of dollars over time to our national debt. But here's the thing that they're really trying to do.
What? You guys didn't add trillions of dollars to our national debt. We're actually trying to make a small dent in it. What are you talking again? What are you talking about? You know, you're criticizing Doge, the purpose of which is to cut unnecessary federal spending and to save us, the people who voted for this money. We're very happy. We're very happy with it. He keeps talking about the American people. He doesn't know what the American people want. Dude, the American people did not vote for you guys. We didn't. We voted for Trump. Again, a broad cross-section of America. Conservatives, classical liberals, libertarians. We came together and we voted for Trump. We gave him the electoral vote. We gave him the popular vote. We gave him the swing states. So why are you standing up here talking for us? Like you know us. By the way, thank you. I think Nina Infinity just sent some folks over. Hey, Keely, she says, Nina Raid. Welcome, Nina, folks. We're just watching, if you just got here, we're watching the Democratic press conference, the response to their address about Trump's first 100 days. It's just something that needs to be watched together. So
they are trying to weaponize despair. They're trying to so beat us down that we will be too soul weary to fight, and it's our job to prove them wrong. This country does not belong to the people in power. The power is in the people.
Again, yes, it is. And this is what we voted for, sir. Hello, the people. We spoke. We spoke with our vote. We spoke.
And so I want the American people to be clear that we are fighting. In many ways, you will see our fight. Sometimes you will not see what the fights that we're engaged in, but know that we're fighting for ordinary people. Because we believe that if you center the people rather than the politics, you have a chance at getting the public policy right. That's right. And so we invite our Republican colleagues to join us. The doors of the church are open. The time is always right to do what's right. It's never too late to be on the right side of history.
Oh, there's that line. The right side of history. Let me just make a point about this real quick. This is something the woke have been saying for years. They always say they're on the right side of history. I've started to see some of these so-called woke right people saying this as well. Just be very wary when anybody says that, because in my experience, not always, but sometimes that phrase is used to first of all, sometimes it's used to justify evil means, because they're sort of like, okay, but we have these beautiful goals, so it's okay if we discriminate racially right now, guys, like with DEI and CRT and stuff. That's cool, because what we're trying to do is end racism so we can discriminate racially, right? Like that's how the woke left uses it. And I would just be it's not always the case that it's being misused, but more often than not, I think it also instills this sense of like, we are the good guys, which can be a really dangerous thing. The woke, a lot of them think that. And when they believe that so strongly, it's hard to get them to see like, okay, it's part of their identity. They think we're the good guys, so we can do all kinds of evil. It's a really dangerous thing. There's I think it's a Alexander Solzhenitsyn quote about ideology, and ideology as being the necessary tool to convince like wrongdoers or evildoers that they're doing right. That you have to convince them, most people, not the sociopaths and the narcissists, they don't care, but the masses, in order to get the masses of people to do evil, like we've seen the woke left do in the past 10 years or so, you have to convince them that what they're doing is good and right, and they're on the right side of history, right? So just interesting to see him still using that woke phrase.
And so we want you to rise up to this moral moment and to recognize that we will not give in to wannabe autocrats who want to convince us that they have already won. If they can convince you that they've already won, then you won't fight. You won't raise your voice. The great Andy Young, who's now in his 90s and is a great source of wisdom for me, tells a story of how after they had passed the civil rights bill into law, Dr. King and his team went to visit with President Lyndon Baines Johnson. And Dr. King said to President Johnson, I need a voting rights law. My people are being disenfranchised, and we've got to pass a voting rights law. And the president said, Martin, I agree with you, but the sad political reality is I don't have the power to do that right now. I just passed a civil rights law. I've used all of my political capital to muster that through the Congress. There's no way I can get a voting rights law passed. I don't have the power to do that. And they left the meeting and the team was feeling all dejected, and somebody said to Dr. King, what are we going to do now? He said, well, the president says he doesn't have any power. I guess we're going to have to go and get the president some power. And so I've been thinking about that story a lot lately, because everywhere I go, and I know my colleagues have the same experience, people are asking us, what are we going to do? Will you fight for us? And the answer is yes, we are fighting for you. But Selma was about creating the context for the change that you want to see in the world. And so know that as we fight on the inside, we need you to fight on the outside. And
Let me offer a thought that maybe he hasn't considered. Seeing that he used that anecdote, okay? That anecdote of the president doesn't think he has power, so we need to go and get him power from the people, showing that the people want this. I don't know if he's considered that that's what we just did in our election. That's what we just did. The people gave the president power. We gave him a mandate. This is what we voted for. Are we going to agree with every single policy or every single thing out of his mouth? No, of course not. Only cults do that. Only leftists do that. But is this overall, are we all very pleased? Yes. If in the chat, if you voted for Trump and you're not very pleased, let me know. I really doubt that I will see that in the chat, because I talk to people who voted for Trump all the time, online and off in my real life. We're happy, dude. We gave the president some power. We empowered him. This is what we voted for. So I don't know if you considered that. It's kind of funny you use that anecdote in particular and it just escaped you.
We will prove once again that this is the United States of America, and at the end of the day, it's the people who have the last word. Love has the last word. Justice has the last word. Righteousness has the last word. And we will continue to fight. Amen. All right.
Thank you so much. What an honor and privilege to be here with Leader Jeffries, Leader Schumer. Thank you for bringing us together, and with my incredible Democratic colleagues in the House and the Senate, fighters, each one of them. 100 days ago, Donald Trump came to this Capitol. He swore an oath, spoke to the American people, and promised to bring down prices. And then he started a trade war with our allies, and prices went up. He said we'd be a rich nation again. Then he collapsed the market, and trillions of dollars in savings have been lost. He promised a glorious destiny for Americans.
Did you guys see that meme? She's talking about the stock market. Did you guys see that meme of a leftist who's like, down with the system, down with the capitalist patriarchy? And then you show the declining stock prices and he's like, no, not the system. These guys, again, There's just there's so many funny things about leftists, and you could sit here and laugh all day, but that's one of them. When they're just like, not the stock market. Um. Anyway. Let me just think. Randy Wallen again for $10. Thank you, Randy, for supporting Deprogrammed. One of our biggest supporters. I appreciate it. Randy says, I go back a long way with politics. It's my firm belief that there are two and only two types of Democrats. Number one, lying scumbags like these. Okay. Tell us what you really think, Randy. And number two, the morons that follow them without question. Yes. Yes, I will put one little asterisk there for any of my leftist friends who might be watching. They're not all morons. Some are very intelligent. I don't know if you would still use that word morons, but some are very intelligent. They're just you can be in a cult and be very intelligent. In fact, if you doubt that, look at the one I usually give as an example is Heaven's Gate. I mean, a lot of those guys were brilliant. And early computer programmers, things like this, and they had a pretty high average IQ in that cult. High IQ doesn't prevent you from falling in with a really stupid ideology. It actually just makes you're almost a better speaker for it. Because you can rationalize better than the lower IQ person who's in the cult. So you can try. A lot of times you become the verbal, like the mouthpiece for trying to articulate ideas that don't make sense, trying to make them make sense. But yes, in general, I agree with you, Randy. Randy Wallen for $5 also says a fact. Republicans carried all of the 60s CR legislation. Dems voted against them all. Thank you for that bit of history. The civil rights. I was like, what's he mean? Oh, yeah. Yes, the civil rights legislation. Okay. We're going to continue.
Then he executed an agenda of, by, and for the billionaire class.
What's she talking
about? And now supermarkets are warning they may not be able to stock their shelves. Oh. Republican politicians promised.
Oh, you mean like in the past 4 years? Oh, okay.
The American people they would have more money in your pocket, more opportunity for your family, more confidence in your future. But all we have seen is them take away healthcare, take away Social Security, take away veterans benefits, take food away from children and seniors. That's not what anyone voted for. We look at the polls, but also go out and ask people for yourself. You'll hear the same thing that we're hearing. Ask my constituent whose husband is in final stages of dementia, whose financial survival depends on Medicaid. Ask the mom in my district whose son was born with spinal muscular atrophy, a proud college graduate who relies on Medicaid not just to stay alive, but to live a full life. Ask the veterans that I've met in town halls and round tables and in Dunkin' Donuts across my district. They can't get an appointment at the VA right now, and they are scared and think we have forgotten them. Ask the seniors who cannot get someone to pick up the phone at Social Security. In red, blue, and purple districts, Americans are saying this is not about politics. This is not about an ideology. This is about the fact that politicians are supposed to work for the American people, not the other way around. And we see the Republicans in Congress choosing their careers, their political survival over that of their constituents, listening to Donald Trump and Elon Musk and their donors instead of their own voters. Their voters are speaking clearly. They oppose tax cuts for the rich. They oppose cuts to Social Security. They oppose cuts to veterans benefits. They want the representatives they elected to lower their cost of living, to make.
Once again, she says, listen to us. I'm telling you, lady, we're pretty happy. We're waiting to see how some of this shakes up, how it shakes out. We're waiting to see if it's going to affect our bottom line or not. At least he's doing something different than you guys. They keep they keep lying and trying to scare elderly people and poor people, talking about cuts to Social Security and Medicare. He's not cutting Social Security. DOJ has identified payments that were going out to people who are dead. Okay. Fraud. They're putting a stop to fraud. Social Security numbers for people who are 308 years old or whatever. They went through a whole list of these that they found. And then I'm going to cover, like I said, we're going to cover the Medicaid stuff in a second.
Sure they can afford groceries, go to the doctor, and stay in their homes. Whether or not Republicans are listening to their voters, Democrats are. We see them. And we see a system that punishes those who work the hardest.
Do you hear her? She says she's listening to us and she sees us. Really? I feel like you're not hearing me. I feel like you're not hearing me when I say we're happy and you're full of crap and you're a liar and we're not buying into your lies. Is this microphone on? Okay. We see them. We hear them.
To benefit those who have the most. And we're here to offer a different path. We're here to fight for the America that Americans want, with more opportunity, more wealth, and more power for working families. That is the fight that we're in. That is our commitment to Americans. And I am so proud to be here today and yield to my good friend, the Senator from Delaware, Senator Lisa Blunt Rochester.
I just have to point out again, there's no crowd here to hear them. It's really just them and the cameras. So every time they clap for themselves, it's just them clapping for themselves. There's no crowd. Maybe 2 or 3 people. It's kind of sad.
Thank you, colleagues. All right. Leader Schumer, Leader Jeffries, thank you for gathering us all here today on this beautiful, beautiful afternoon. As a former member of the House of Representatives, House members, and as a new member of the United States Senate, I have to say to everybody, I don't know about you, but when I look back,
everybody, she means all 2 people there, and the press.
I can see this crowd. This is a beautiful sight to behold. Yes. Democrats coming together across the Capitol. So I start off by saying it's good to see you. It's good to be with you. It's good to be in the fight together. All of us represent millions of Americans across this country, from every single corner of this country. We have constituents who may have different voices, may look different, may have different beliefs, and face different challenges every day. But there are 2 things that we are united on. One is that we love this country. Yeah. Get that straight.
Do you? Again, you guys are the party that consistently over, at least for the past 10 years, probably longer, maybe 20 years, you've consistently attacked the First Amendment, the Second Amendment of the Constitution. You've attacked the Constitution itself. You've attacked our founders. You've tried to pull down statues. You have pulled down statues of our founders. You've talked about how we need to start brainwashing kids with the 19 projects. Is that what it's called? That we need to get, retrain, re-educate, like a re-education camp to teach kids that our country is a white supremacist patriarchy, that it's built for white people. All of these lies that you want to put in the heads of kids, that they're oppressed by this country. It doesn't really seem like you love the country as much as you shit talk it, as much as you say you want to destroy it. I just, you guys are the same people. You leftists at every 4th of July, You pen these horrible op-eds about why you're not celebrating the 4th of July. You pen these horrible op-eds at Thanksgiving about why you're not celebrating Thanksgiving and why it's a terrible you hate anything patriotic. I see you guys post all the time about how when you see an American flag on a house or a car or a shirt or something, you automatically hate the person. Like we see everything you guys say. You don't act like people who love this country, but you always say it. You're always so quick to say it. Stuff like this. You don't, none of this, it's not just that they're lying about policy stuff like Social Security and Medicaid. They just lie about basic stuff like this. Like the guy earlier who said that it's the Republicans who are attacking our values and norms. No, it's not. We can plainly see it's you guys. And then to sit here and lie about this and say, we love our country. Do you? Because you're always crapping on it.
Love this country. And for so many of our constituents and for us, we feel a sense of urgency in this moment. 100 days. Some of you may recall, if you know me, that in 2016, I was elected, having never run for anything in my life. And I came to the House of Representatives in the minority, right, Speaker Pelosi? I was in the minority. I came with Donald Trump. And so for me, this is not new. We made sure that every attempt to repeal, replace, tear up the Affordable Care Act, we did not let that happen because the people did not let that happen.
Right.
And today, I am here as a United States Senator in the minority, temporarily.
I wish you would have torn up the Affordable Care Act. I mean, I wish we could have. We have to pay for this bit of socialized medicine. This whole idea that you're going to get dinged with extra taxes, you're going to get dinged at the end of the year if you don't buy into Obamacare, if you don't buy into the Affordable Care Act. You have to do it, or the government's going to take money from you if you don't do it. You have to do it. And then by doing it, they've enrolled all these people on it, so the rates for everything goes up. It barely covers anything. I don't know about you guys, but ours barely covers anything. There's a couple of surprising things it does cover. That's been interesting, but it barely covers anything. And in my case, I have to have a surgery. I'm not going to go into the details of it. If I go through my Affordable Care Act health coverage, which I have, and we pay for it to have this because we have to, otherwise we're going to get dinged. It's going to be a year and a half before they can do the surgery, which is sort of a timely thing. It's like socialized medicine. So what are we doing? We're going outside of the network. We're going outside of the network that takes our insurance, which would be a year and a half wait at least. And we're just going to pay out the nose to go to a great doctor who can see me pretty soon. So why am I paying for this? Why are you making me do this? Because it's not covering what I need anyway. And they want to talk about like they care about the average working American and like making healthcare payments. And, she talks about that like it's a good thing. I'm not pleased at having to buy into the Obamacare. Are you guys? I mean, I know some people have had okay experiences. I know every experience is not the same, but I know all the rates went up because of it. And what does it cover? And how long are the wait times?
I'm going to say that again, temporarily.
Temporarily.
And also with Donald Trump. And I have a message to my Republican colleagues. When I first came in, the word was unprecedented, but now the words are uncertain, chaotic, confused, and corrupt.
Yep.
Those are the words. And so to my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, I say on this 101st day, there is an adage, the truth shall set you free. The truth shall set you free. 100 days into this presidency, We've gone from 3 years of solid growth in our economy to the steepest decline that we've seen since the pandemic. That's the truth. Groceries are up, retirement savings are down. That's the truth. Outbreaks of measles and the avian flu, that's the truth. Right. It costs more to build, buy, or to rent a home. It's the truth.
All of these things she's talking about happened under Biden, okay? Maybe not the measles thing. That was a recent thing, that there was an outbreak. Oh my God, it's just Trump's fault. There was a measles outbreak. But these other things happened under Biden, lady. Once again, you're such a liar. You think we're going to forget? The price of homes, we covered on the show. I think it was Zillow was showing it went up. It was like 4 times or something insane. I'll have to pull that up while she's talking. I'll go pull it up. This happened under Biden. We remember. We're not goldfish. We're not in your cult, so we don't just like go along with what you're saying because you've convinced us that you're on the right side of history and we want to be good people and it's part of our identity. Like, we don't go along with that crap. Your psychological manipulation. So you just outright lie about this stuff and pretend like, oh my gosh, in the past 100 days, Trump did all of the what? We're not stupid.
American citizens, including 2-year-olds and kids with cancer, are being deported without due process. Wow.
You know what? I hate this lie especially. The mom she's talking about, who was here illegally, who's been arrested several times, they asked her, yes, she had 2 anchor babies, I think. And one of them they're making a big deal out of, they deported her kids. She chose that. They offered her, do you want to be deported with your children, or do you want us to find placement with friends or family here for your kids who were born here? She chose to be deported with her young children. That's her choice. But to pretend, what's the alternative, lady? What's the alternative? Oh, we just disregard immigration law? Because she had an anchor baby? But I had an anchor baby. No, we're not doing that anymore. We're not doing that. And you're not going to take these anecdotes, these sob stories, and manipulate. I mean, it's going to continue to work in your cult. That's true. They love cherry-picked anecdotes. We can cherry-pick too, if you want. We can do the same. You guys want to ignore all the murders that have been committed by illegal immigrants. You don't like it when we cherry-pick those anecdotes, when we talk about Lake and Riley. Is it Lake and Riley? Or am I confusing with, I think that's the girl that got beat by the trans athlete. Let me just look it up. There's so many. No, that is who I'm thinking of. Awful story. You guys probably, the leftists, you don't even know her name, I'm sure. You have no idea. You have no idea how often it's happened either. The rape and murder of young women, of young girls, of children by illegal immigrants. So you want to pick a sob story to push your messed up policy? Well, okay, then if we're going to play that game, I guess we'll just have to keep going back and forth with sob stories. But that doesn't work on us anymore. It's like the Remy's video, like people will die. You guys are just deceitful. You'll use anything. And no, sorry. I don't think that we should change our immigration policy and let that mom stay, who broke the law several times, being here, and they had an order for her deportation. She violated. Like, no, we don't. She doesn't get to stay. And they were kind enough to tell her, you can choose to take your kids with you or not. And she chose to take them with her. And we're supposed to be upset? No. Doesn't work, lady.
That's the truth. There are wars around the world. There's chaos at the Pentagon, and our allies are losing trust in us. Anybody remember Signalgate 1 and the sequel Signalgate 2? And don't forget the Department of Inefficiency, breaking our government while they're stealing your data. It's been a long 100 days, but make no mistake, Democrats are going to continue to fight. And each of us must do our part in this moment. We will sit in, right, Corey? To protect Medicaid and the millions of Americans who rely on it. We will stand up for justice and the rule of law and due process. We will march for our rights. And across the Capitol and across the country, we will lock arms against hate, corruption, and darkness. We do this because this is our country. We do this because this is our democracy. And we do this because we recognize that we are all in this together. We are all in this together. And so I close with the song, but I'm not singing. I close with the song that I think represents what you see behind you. The song that is sung and danced to at every Black family reunion. We are family, and we got your back, American families. And it is my honor to now introduce the Minority Whip from the United States House of Representatives, Pete Aguilar, my friend.
Okay. Let me show you this. This is a BBC article. These Democrats want to ignore this number completely. The Trump administration estimates that there are about 300,000 children that they just don't have eyes on. 300,000, migrant children who come here with their parents illegally, or parents or guardian or adult or trafficker who took them across the border, right? 300,000 who haven't shown up to a court date or gotten a notice to appear, who are just missing. Many of these kids probably being sex trafficked. Who knows? Used for drug trafficking. Who knows? Do they care about these kids? Does their immigration policy, what we've seen, the open border policy for the past 4 years under Biden, is it enacted with these kids in mind? This is more than a simple anecdote. This is a number. This is data. 300,000 kids, okay? It's not a kid. I pulled up the BBC because leftists trust it. So you guys can go and read it yourself. Here are 300,000 migrant children missing in the U.S. And they do a lot of stretching in here to try and say no, but basically they say yes. They're like, yes. So it goes on to, the claims from Trump's administration. According to immigration experts and attorneys, the claims largely stem from an August report from the Department of Homeland Security's Inspector General's office, which found that 32,000 unaccompanied minors failed to show up for court dates at immigration courts from 2019 to 2023. The report noted that, so first of all, that's 32,000 unaccompanied minors who came across the border, right, with adults who failed to show up for their court dates. Then it notes there's an additional 291,000 migrant children who received no court notices at all. It also called on the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement for ICE to take immediate action to ensure the safety of unaccompanied migrant children in the U.S. Migrant children, quote, who do not appear for court are considered at higher risk for trafficking, exploitation, or forced labor, the Inspector General's office reported. So then you've got this guy who's saying, no, this is just like a bureaucratic paperwork issue. It's not anything nefarious. That's what he says. Quote, when you hear the phrase missing, you think there's a child that someone's trying to find and can't. That's not the case. The government has not made any effort to find these children. Wow. So Biden's admin just let in, there's 300,000 undocumented migrant children that Biden's administration just let come across illegally, and then they haven't made any effort to find 290,000 of those kids. And another 36,000 or 32,000 that they did try to find, and they did send notices to. Those didn't show up in court. So are those, can we at least consider that 32,000 missing since they didn't show up? The government has not made any effort to find those kids. Well, that's on Biden. There we go. We are now making an effort. We're now making an effort. Do they care about this? No. It's all platitudes. I want to thank Andrew Knapp. Thank you for the super chat for $5. Andrew says, these moral black holes confuse taxation with charity. They do. They absolutely do. But taxation is theft. That's the way I view it. It's not charity. Charity is what you choose to do. And by the way, when I first left the woke cult, I learned many things. I was shocked to learn. One of the things I learned when I looked at the stats, if you're on the left and you're watching, conservatives actually donate more to charity than liberals. I was shocked because, being in the tribe that the quote unquote that's on the right side of history, right? The leftists, I was like, oh, they're the ones that care about people. And no, well, their charitable donations don't reflect that. Maybe it's because they expect they want the government to take by force. And they view that as charity. Randy Wellen for $5. Thank you, Randy. Says the actual truth is the opposite of every single thing these monsters are saying. Yes, give them enough power and they'll start sending the boxcars for you. 100%. I during COVID, I learned that at the beginning of COVID policy was when I saw how they controlled the masses on their side. Like they got all of those people who are in their cult. It's like that Alexander Solzhenitsyn quote about ideology. Because they believe they're on the right side of history and they're good people, they got these people to become full of hatred and malice and spite, wishing death on us just because we didn't choose to take the vax, wishing death, saying we shouldn't be able to go to the hospital, like just outright hatred for their neighbors. Like I saw that. I was like, oh, this is how it's done. It's weird to witness it in real time. I've read the book Ordinary Men, which I've talked about before, which is about this reserve police battalion in Poland during World War II and how they became, under the Nazi regime, these reserve police officers. So these are men who had real jobs, like they were other jobs. They were, doctors, dentists, laborers, whatever they were, but they were reserve officers. Well, under Hitler's regime, they were tasked with committing some of the worst atrocities against the Jewish people that were in these internment camps. They were tasked with executing people, mass executions, things like this. And so this book, Ordinary Men, is this sort of historical study of the psychology behind the psychology of a lot of those men who were in that battalion. And it was sort of looking at the different personality types and how do you get people to commit evil. It's called Ordinary Men because these were ordinary men. And we got to witness something similar. Now, low IQ people or dishonest people will go, how dare you compare the Holocaust or extermination of a people, of a genocide with, lockdowns and mask mandates. And I'm not comparing those at all. I'm comparing the psychology of people in both situations, how you get ordinary men to get on board with something that is full of malice, hatred, resentment. How do you get them to be okay with evil? It's the Alexander Solzhenitsyn quote. You convince them that they're doing good, that their hatred, that their wish of death on people, that they're snitching and their Stasi-like behavior, that all of that is good. And so you got like a little taste of that during the COVID years. John says, oh, this was about Obamacare. He says, Keri, you're subsidizing others, not yourself. Yeah, I'm paying into the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare plan. And what's it covering? Not much for me. I got to go out of pocket to a doctor out of the system to get a very expensive surgery. So it's not really helping me there. Okay, we'll continue.
Thank you so much, Senator.
Leader Schumer, Leader Jeffries, Speaker Emerita Pelosi, and colleagues, for 100 days, Republicans have shown us who they are fighting for and what they care about. It's not the working families who asked for a little bit of help, a little bit of breathing room. It's not our veterans, our farmers, our teachers, or our seniors. The only thing Republicans can rally around, the only thing that brings them together, is massive tax cuts for their billionaire friends. They're trying to pass a budget to cut Medicaid, to cut healthcare, to make healthcare more unaffordable and less accessible. They're dismantling the Social Security Administration and putting the earned benefits that seniors rely on in jeopardy.
Dismantling? What is he talking? It's an outright lie. Listen, leftists, if you're watching, look this up. They are not getting rid of the Social Security Administration. It's a ball. Sometimes you guys can't believe you're being lied to because it's such a bald-faced lie, but that's what psychopaths do. That's what narcissists do. That's what abusers do. This cluster B personality type, the dark tetrad, that's what they do. They make a lie so big, right? Remember Hitler and Goebbels where they talked about, like, if you want to convince a lot of people, a large group of people of a lie, you have to make the lie so big. That's so telling. If you've ever dealt with a cluster B type person in your life, for example, someone who you would characterize as a borderline personality disorder, or a narcissist, or a psychopath, or sociopath, they will tell lies of such magnitude. And you're like, how are they doing this with a straight face? But because they're trying to convince a lot of people. And they're banking on the average person being like, nobody would just tell a lie that big. It must be true. Nobody would just make that up out of thin air. It must be true, right? That's what they do. Yes, Kevin, if you tell a lie big enough, people will believe it. Yep.
And Trump's reckless tariffs are driving our country towards a recession, which will put hardworking Americans out of work through no fault of their own. In just 100 days, Donald Trump and the Republican majority have broken their promise to lower costs and instead chosen to crash the economy. Their budget bill will only make things worse. Democrats are going to keep the focus on the American people, and the American people are asking for a little bit of breathing room so they can get by. They want to spend a little less of their hard-earned paychecks at the grocery store, at their daycare, or toward rent. We're going to focus on making life more affordable, making life easier for everyday Americans in these next 100 days, and at every turn until we flip the House and we flip the Senate and we put a check on the Trump administration's reckless economic policies.
I want you to notice just what they started with and what they ended with, the economy. They are switching gears. Like I said, they're just get ready for this because they realize that the mandate that we the people gave to Trump, that a lot of that had to do with their woke ideology, with their identity Marxism. Okay. So they're going to pivot back into pushing the class Marxism for a while and see if that gains traction. Because I think the message they took from the election is nobody cares about your woke crap, your woke identity crap, when their pocketbook is hurting. And that's why that's the message they took anyway. They think that's why people voted for Trump. And so they're going really hardcore into class Marxism and like, let us be the ones to save with more regulations and more government bureaucracy, more government spending, which means more taxes, a bigger government, a bigger federal government, bigger payroll for all of us, right? We can reduce this and that. We can do a controlled plan. We can do government planning, and we can ensure all these things that are not within our purvey, that are not part of our job. But that's what they're doing. They're like, we have to appeal to the working class voter. How do we do that? It's kind of funny. They also, they've been doing a lot of this sort of trying to appeal to men. and it's almost like we know that they don't know what a woman is anymore, but I don't think they know what a man is either. So all of their appeals to men are kind of like that ad that we saw during towards the end of the campaign. Kamala put out that men for Kamala ad or whatever with those guys. It was almost like parody. And they're like, holy crap, this is what they think men are like. So I think they're trying to swing hard to appeal to men, but primarily they're trying to sort of rebrand as this sort of class-based thing. That's what they're doing. Yeah, it was low T men. Let me show you. This is what they're talking about when it comes, as far as I can tell. Now, if I'm leaving something out, let me know. They're trying to scare people and convince them that Trump is getting rid of Medicaid, which he's not. Why? Because he is cutting certain non-medical services in Medicaid that had been expanded under Biden, where Medicaid is spending all this money on things that are not Medicaid. So Biden, it says Trump to end federal funding of certain non-medical services in Medicaid. Biden had encouraged using Medicaid funds to help people with needs like housing and nutrition. So paying for like state programs that cover people's housing, and also like SNAP, like nutrition programs. The Trump administration said Thursday it will no longer help states fund non-medical services. Yeah, because Medicaid is for medical services. Okay. Stay with me, leftists. Would no longer help states fund non-medical services that often are aimed at improving housing or nutrition for people in the Medicaid program. The change is a departure from the Biden admin's efforts to improve the health of Medicaid enrollees by paying for non-medical services. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services sent a letter to states notifying them that it no longer intends to let states use federal matching funds for two types of programs: designated state health programs and designated state investment programs. It said it won't take new applications for these programs or renew existing efforts as they expire. Look at this part. CMS said that federal funding for these programs has grown. Look what it exploded to under Biden. It grew from $886 million for those programs. I'm not talking about all of Medicaid. We're talking about for non-medical services that were somehow suddenly being funded by Medicaid. It grew from $886 million in 2019 to nearly $2.7 billion. 2.7 with a B, billion. Again, this isn't all Medicaid. This is the non-medical things that Medicaid was covering. By comparison, the federal government spent about $600 billion on Medicaid in 2023. So Trump says, look, if the states want to pay for these services, that's up to the states. They should pay for them, but we're not matching it with federal funds anymore. The non-medical things. No, we're not going to continue just that got lumped in under Medicaid. We're not doing that anymore. So you may or may not like that. You may or may not like that decision. You may think it's bad. We can talk about it. I don't really have a very strong position on it. I think it's probably wise that he's getting rid of that. But I could, I'm willing to hear arguments to convince me otherwise. It's not something that I have a strong opinion on. But what I do have a strong opinion about is the lie. I am thoroughly disgusted by the lie that they are trying to convince elderly people and poor people that Trump is getting rid of Medicaid, getting rid of Social Security. And I can't stand dishonesty, and I can't stand fear mongering. And as much as they talked about fear mongering in that press conference of theirs, like that is what they specialize in. It's fear mongering. Yes, Helena. Like let's remind ourselves that these are the people who made fun of people who complained about the price of eggs. They made fun of us for that. Now suddenly they care. about the average American worker and our paycheck and, our budget. Suddenly they care. I just wanted to highlight a couple things in the chat. Davina Duckworth says, Joseph Goebbels, the Nazi minister of propaganda, quote, "If you tell a lie big enough and keep repeating it, people will eventually come to believe it." That was the quote, yes. And it's true. It's a sociopathic tactic, and it does work on some people. It can work on a majority of people in some circumstances. Kevin Anderson, I thought the book Ordinary Men described peer pressure. It does to some degree. That's one of the things that influenced some of those men who were in that battalion. It's the pressure of like everyone else is doing it. Yes, that's part of it. That's not all of it. Therese, Doge is cutting their gravy train. That's why they're pissed. Yep. John, I want to vote for it again. Loving it. I want to vote for. Were you the one? Someone earlier said if I could vote for Trump again, I would. If we held the election again today, I'd vote that way again. Yes, me too. Me too. Okay, I'm gonna stop there. I thought it was fun to watch that with you guys. Thanks for sitting and enjoying it with me. If you like the video, please hit like, subscribe, leave a comment, do the things, and I thought I had an announcement. Oh man, this is me getting older. My memory doesn't work so well. Well, I'll see you on Monday. We'll just say I'll see you on Monday at 2:00 Central. I appreciate you guys for tuning in and for hanging out. And I have some videos in the works. I have some more interviews coming out. One of them is an in-person interview with Adam Coleman about his new book. We are going to be getting that out sometime next week. We're working on editing it, and I'm very excited about that one. And we have some new cameras and plans to do more in-person stuff, which is super exciting as well. Thank you guys for being here. Thanks for your support. Thanks for the super chats, and have a great weekend. Therese says, great show as always, Keri. Have a great weekend. You too. Yeah. Thank you. That was fun. Oh, let me tell you guys real quick. I mean, the show's over, but I'm going to tell you something for those who want to hang around. Here in Texas, it's storm season. It's crazy storms. If you're not in Texas, if you've never been through a Texas storm, you have no idea how crazy it can get. And I'm talking about hail, like softball size sometimes, like insane storms and tornadoes and just anyway. I met these 3 kids the other day. They're storm chasers. I say kids, they're young adults. They're in college. And it was just so cool. Like, this is why you should even if you're a curmudgeon, you should try and talk to people when you're out and about in real life. Because I just asked them where they were from, and they just started telling me they drove 3 hours to get here to chase the storm, and they had some amazing footage and photos, and I think some of their pictures got picked up by news outlets and stuff. They were showing me, they were so excited and just enthusiastic, and that was so fun. Like, just meeting, I'm like, what a cool, interesting job. I would never do it. I would never go towards the storm. But it was cool to meet somebody doing something that I don't know, that different and interesting, and yeah, and to see young people so excited and passionate about something, right? Like geeking out about something fun and interesting. So anyway, it's Texas storm season. It looks like it's going to be another one tonight. So stay safe if you're in Texas. And I'll see you guys on Monday. Davina says, what's the opposite of a storm chaser? I don't know, but that's what I am. I'm like, get away from it. I'm like my dogs, like, get away from it. Okay, guys, I'll see you later. Take care. Bye.